It was raining that night. Hard. The kind of rain that drowns out the sound of your own thoughts. And that was exactly what I needed. I parked 2 streets away from the restaurant. Engine off. Lights off. Wipers frozen mid-swipe. I sat in the dark, soaked in the glow of my phone screen, watching the security feed from our front door camera. Not because I was scared of a break-in. No, because I was planning one. My own. Earlier that day, I told my wife I'd be working late. Some emergency network outage my boss needed help with. Total lie. I had already cleared the whole afternoon off. I used that time to pack everything that mattered into my car. My documents. My laptop. My grandmother's ring. My dog's medical records. I even took the photo of us in Maui from the back of the bookshelf. The one she didn't realize I noticed she'd turned face down 2 weeks ago. She thought I didn't know. About him. About their little wine and laughter sessions on girls' nights. About how her gym bag had started smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. About how her phone suddenly needed a password and always face down on the table. But I knew. I didn't confront her. I watched. I waited. I timed it all perfectly. That night, she left the house in a black coat she hadn't worn in months. Hair curled. Lips red. Said she was meeting her co-worker, Justine, at some new tapas place. She even kissed me on the cheek like it meant something. Like she still deserved to. 5 minutes later, I followed her. I watched from across the street as she sat down in a booth with a man I'd never seen before. He touched her hand before the waiter even brought the water. She laughed like a teenager. Tilted her head in that way she used to do when we were first dating. She looked alive, like she'd been dead around me for months and suddenly remembered how to breathe in front of him. It burned. God, it burned. But I stayed still. I waited exactly 17 minutes. Just enough time for them to order drinks. Then I opened the locksmith app and hit confirm. I'd scheduled it earlier that day. The guy was waiting a block from our house, ready to change the locks the second I gave the word. I watched the progress live from the camera on our porch. Lock by lock. Bolt by bolt. The sound didn't come through, but I imagined the metallic clicks like gunshots in my chest. Then, just as the locksmith was packing up, my phone buzzed. Her name on the screen. Kaylee, incoming call. I let it ring once. Twice. 3 times. Then I answered, calm as ice. Hey, she said, voice all soft and sugar-coated. The rain's getting worse. I think I'll just head home a little early. I cut her off. You'll need a hotel. What? I changed the locks. There was silence on the line. Then a shaky, is this some kind of joke? No, Kaylee. But dinner with your boyfriend is. And then I hung up. That was the moment I stopped being the fool. She called back 6 times. I watched the phone buzz on the seat beside me, vibrating so violently it almost slid off the edge. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't want to. Honestly, my hands were trembling. I was furious, humiliated, nauseous, all of it at once. But I needed her to feel it. The silence. The shift. The panic creeping up her throat when she realized the game had flipped. I finally pulled away from the curb, drove slow, letting the rain blur the windshield just enough that the traffic lights turned into streaks of red and green. I wasn't in a rush. Not anymore. I had already done what needed to be done. All that was left now was to let the consequences hit her like a brick wall. By the time I pulled into a motel parking lot off the highway, the rain had turned into a light drizzle. I checked my phone. For voicemails. 1 text. Please. I can explain. I'm coming home. I laughed out loud in the car. Not a normal laugh. The kind that slips out when your body doesn't know whether to cry or scream. Because I remembered what home used to mean. Warmth. Honesty. Trust. A stupid blanket we argued over on cold nights. And now it was just a building I had to erase her from. I opened the live feed again. She was already on the porch, standing under the flickering light, umbrella in one hand, phone in the other. The man from the restaurant wasn't with her. She must have bolted out the second I hung up. Her hair was frizzed from the rain. Her heels were sinking into the welcome mat, and she was banging on the door like it owed her an explanation. I watched her try the handle 3 times. Then she stepped back and called me again. And again. Then, and I will never forget this. She pulled out her phone, opened the camera app, and took a selfie. Right there on the porch. Hair ruined. Tears streaking her makeup. She posed with a pout, then walked to her car and sat inside. I stared at the screen, absolutely stunned. That's when it hit me. She wasn't panicking because she lost me. She was panicking because she lost the control. She wanted to flip this. Turn it into a victim story. something to tell her friends and post online. My husband locked me out. He's so cruel. She wanted to weaponize her own betrayal. And that was when my pity evaporated. I called my lawyer. I'd already drafted the email, already had screenshots of the door camera, the restaurant location, and even a receipt from a floral shop that matched the bouquet in her back seat, bright red roses. She never even bothered to hide them. I clicked send, and then I blocked her number. She didn't know it yet, but I wasn't just changing the locks to the house. I was changing the locks on my entire life. The motel room smelled like stale cigarettes and lemon cleaner. The bedspread was the kind that clings to your skin like regret. I sat on the edge of it, still dripping from the rain, still in my work clothes, staring at the wall like it might blink first. The silence felt heavier than it should have. I should have felt relief, maybe even pride, for finally doing something, for taking back control. But all I felt was that awful, hollow throb in my chest. The kind that makes you question every memory, every kiss, every moment where you thought you were loved. I couldn't stop replaying it. The way she touched his hand in that booth. The way she smiled. God, it was the same smile she used to give me. How many times had I told myself I was being paranoid? That Kaylee wouldn't do something like this? That I needed to trust her? That I was the problem? I felt like an idiot. I opened my email again and double-checked everything. Screenshots of the video footage from the doorbell cam. Her entering the house with him. Not once, but 3 times over the last month. Always when I was working nights. Always through the side door. The same man. Tall. Confident. Wearing my slippers like he belonged there. I had even found a receipt in her glove compartment while she was in the shower 2 nights ago. Dinner for 2. A hotel room downtown. Charged to her card, not his. She wasn't even being careful anymore. That's what made it worse. Like she knew I'd never leave. Like she assumed I'd just accept it. Quietly. Like I always did. I opened a blank document and started writing everything down. Every suspicious moment. Every inconsistency. Not for a post. Not for Reddit. For the lawyer. The one who, to his credit, didn't act surprised when I told him what I'd discovered. He just said, "Send me everything. And Clay, stay quiet. Let her make the next move." It was 2:17 a.m. when she finally did. There was a pounding on the motel room door. I froze. My heart jumped into my throat. I hadn't told anyone where I was, not even my brother. The knocking came again, faster this time. I looked through the peephole. It was her. She was soaked. No umbrella. No coat. She was holding her shoes in one hand, mascara running down her cheeks like ink in the rain. She looked like a ghost. Like someone who'd just come from a funeral. Her eyes were locked on the door, glassy and desperate. I didn't open it. Instead, I turned on the camera on my phone and started recording. She banged again, shouting my name. Not screaming, pleading. Like I owed her a conversation. Then she said something that almost made me unlock the door. Clay, he left. He dropped me off and drove away. He said this was just fun. She slid down the door and sat on the floor, hugging her knees, soaked to the bone. That's when I realized the irony. She gave everything up for a man who wouldn't even stay to hold her hand when it all fell apart. And now here she was, crawling back to the one she betrayed, hoping I'd be dumb enough to open the door. I didn't. I turned off the camera. I sat back down on the edge of the motel bed and let her cry through the door until she ran out of tears. Let her feel what silence really sounds like. By morning, she was gone. The hallway outside my motel room was quiet, except for a single dark smear where her wet hair had leaned against the door. I didn't open it until after sunrise, half expecting her to still be there. But no, all that remained was a single heel, broken at the strap, left behind like a piece of wreckage from the crash she caused. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. What I felt was exhausted, utterly emptied out, like she had drained every last ounce of belief I had in people, in love, in myself. I stood in the shower for nearly an hour, letting the water pound against my back like it could wash the memories off me. Her perfume, her lies, her laughter from across the restaurant table. I wanted it all erased. But memory isn't water-soluble. Later that day, I turned off the motion notifications on the doorbell camera, watching her come back again and again, first tapping, then knocking, then eventually just sitting on the porch with her face buried in her hands. It was too much. She looked shattered. And for a moment, I almost forgot why. Almost. That's the cruel trick of betrayal. Sometimes, even when someone breaks you, you still want to hold their pieces together. But I couldn't. Not anymore. Around 3 p.m., I got a message from her sister. A single line. Clay, she told me what happened. I don't know the full story, but please don't make any rash decisions. I stared at it. The audacity. As if I was the one making impulsive choices. As if I hadn't spent months trying to hold together a crumbling foundation while Kaylee played house with another man. As if I was the threat. Not the woman who smiled into another man's kiss while still wearing my ring. But fine. I replied. She's welcome to tell her side. Just make sure she doesn't leave out the doorbell footage. 5 minutes later, Kaylee herself messaged me. I almost deleted it without reading. But I couldn't help it. Curiosity is a parasite. I don't even know who I am anymore. I didn't mean to fall for him. It just happened. You were always so quiet, Clay. So distant. I thought maybe you stopped caring. I made a mistake. I want to fix this. Please come home. Please talk to me. There it was, the excuse cocktail. A little guilt, a little blame, a lot of desperation. She didn't even realize how loud her silence had been while she crept around behind my back. And now she wanted conversation? Now that her fantasy fizzled out and her fun decided to disappear? I took a deep breath. Then I sent her a single response. You don't fix what you destroyed. You rebuild without it. I blocked her number again. And that evening, I met with the real estate agent I'd called the day before. We started the process of putting the house on the market. Not because I needed the money. Not because I wanted revenge. But because I refused to live in a place where the walls remembered her more than I did. The house sold faster than I expected. Just 2 weeks after listing it, we had 3 offers, 2 over asking. It was surreal, watching strangers walk through what used to be my life. They complimented the crown molding she picked out, ran their hands over the countertops I installed, asked about the neighborhood like they weren't standing on the ruins of a marriage. I smiled, nodded, pretended it didn't feel like watching someone gut a part of me room by room. Kaylee tried to stop the sale. She called the realtor pretending to be concerned about the timing. Then she emailed me directly with some garbage about how maybe we're rushing this, and can we just talk before you make such a permanent decision? I didn't respond. I forwarded everything to my lawyer and let him deal with it. That was the rule now, no contact. No more opportunities for her to twist the narrative. But she didn't stop. Not even close. One night, I came back to the motel and found a paper bag hanging from my doorknob. Inside was a plastic container of lasagna, her lasagna, with a note scrawled in her handwriting. You always said this made you feel better. I hope it still does. I left it outside the door until the rain turned it into soup. She texted me an hour later. Did you at least eat it? I never replied. She needed to learn the difference between a meal and an apology. I was starting to heal, I think. Slowly, awkwardly. I stopped waking up with that crushing weight on my chest. I started eating more than crackers and coffee. I even went out one night, just to sit at a quiet bar with no one expecting anything from me. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't want to, but it felt normal. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like a background character in my own story. But of course, she wasn't done yet. A week before closing, I got a call from my lawyer. She's trying to stall the divorce, he said flatly. Wants mediation. Says she never agreed to give up on the marriage. Claims you acted irrationally and that you owe her a conversation. I nearly laughed. Irrational? After months of deception, secret dates, another man in our house. Now I owed her something? What do we do? I asked. He sighed. We let her try? And while she's playing her little delay games, we keep building your case. Quietly. Patiently. Just like you've been doing. Trust me, she's already lost. She just doesn't know it yet. I thanked him. But inside, I was boiling. I had given that woman everything. Years of loyalty. Kindness. Patience. I swallowed my own needs so many times I forgot what they even were. And now she was fighting not for love, but for control, for the power to say when this ended and how. I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. So I made one final move. I contacted a moving company and told them I didn't want to take a single piece of furniture from the house. Not the bed we shared. Not the couch she curled up on to text him. Nothing. I told them to sell it, donate it. I didn't care. I was going to start over completely. New space. New furniture. New air. And I'd leave behind the scent of every lie she told. The day we closed on the house, I didn't go back for one last look. I thought I might. I imagined I'd want to stand in the empty living room and feel something. Nostalgia, regret, anger, anything. But when the moment came, I just didn't care. The place wasn't mine anymore. It hadn't been for a long time, not since she let someone else walk through our door like he belonged. Let him breathe in the same space where we once made anniversary pancakes and argued over paint colors. She texted me that morning, one last attempt. If you walk away now, we're throwing away everything we built. Don't let your pride destroy what we can still save. Pride? It wasn't pride that locked her out that night. It was pain. It was knowing that no matter how many times I bit my tongue or gave her the benefit of the doubt, she had already handed the pieces of our life to someone else. And now she wanted me to fix it? No, not this time. I moved into a tiny apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, just enough for me and the dog. The first night there, it felt weird not hearing her keys in the door, not having her perfume lingering in the hallway. But that strangeness started to fade fast. I bought new plates, new sheets, a couch that only I had ever sat on. I slept through the night for the first time in months. But then, like clockwork, the rumors started. One of her friends DM'd me on Instagram. Out of nowhere. She's not doing well. I've never seen her like this. She cries at work. She's not eating. Just, please don't hate her forever. I didn't answer. Not because I wanted her to suffer, but because I knew she hadn't hit rock bottom yet. Not really. She was still waiting for me to break. Still thinking I'd turn around and rescue her from the mess she created. But I wasn't her safety net anymore. She cut that rope herself. Then came the twist. About a week later, while sorting through a box of documents I hadn't opened since I left the house, I found something strange, a receipt I didn't recognize. It was from a high-end boutique downtown, dated 6 months before the breakup. On it, 2 items. 1, a men's designer watch. 2, a personalized engraving service. I never received a watch. My heart sank. I looked closer, then grabbed my laptop and dug into our shared credit card statements from that month. I found the transaction. Same day she told me she had to stay late for an out-of-town client dinner. My hands were shaking as I searched through her old Instagram posts. And sure enough, 2 days later, there was a picture of her at a rooftop bar I'd never seen before. No tags. Just a caption, "Love looks different when it's real." My chest tightened. I hadn't just been a backup plan. I had been replaced long before I even realized it. While I was planning our vacation, she was engraving another man's gift. I didn't cry. Not this time. Instead, I sent a copy of the receipt to my lawyer. I didn't include a message. He'd know what to do. The next 2 weeks unfolded like a slow-motion implosion, and I stayed completely silent through all of it. Not a single text to her, not a word to mutual friends. I didn't post cryptic quotes. I didn't vent online. I didn't give her the satisfaction of knowing where I was or how I felt. I just vanished from her world. But from what I heard, she was unraveling. My lawyer told me the receipt, paired with the footage and timeline of her lies, made my case nearly airtight. "You've got leverage now," he said. "Use it carefully." But the thing was, I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to destroy her. I just wanted my name cleared and my peace back. That was it. I was done playing defense in a game I never even agreed to. Still, her side didn't take it well. Kaylee's attorney fired back with a letter that read more like a soap opera monologue than a legal document. My client was emotionally neglected, it said. She found connection elsewhere after feeling isolated and unheard. It was filled with cheap psychology and twisted half-truths meant to paint me as some passive ghost of a husband, a man who drove his wife into someone else's arms. I read it 3 times and laughed. Emotionally neglected? I spent years bending myself backward to keep her happy. I worked late so she could pursue her dream job. I planned vacations around her schedule. I threw her a surprise birthday dinner with 20 of her friends, half of whom I barely knew, while she was texting someone else under the table. Neglected? No, she didn't fall into another man's arms. She climbed into them, hand over hand, knowing exactly what she was giving up. And the worst part? She thought she'd keep both of us. But I wasn't standing still anymore. I sent my lawyer one final instruction. I wanted nothing. No furniture. No money. No shared car. Just my name cleared and my freedom clean. It was a move she didn't expect. Because in her mind, I was the weak one. The quiet one. The pushover. The doormat who wouldn't dare walk away without begging for scraps. But silence. Real silence. Not the one she gave me when she started pulling away, but the kind that says we're done here. That's what shook her the most. 2 days later, I got an email from her personal account. Subject line: "Are you really okay with throwing everything away?" No body text. Just a photo. It was of our bedroom, empty. My side of the bed stripped bare. On the nightstand, the watch I never received, still in its box. She had placed it next to a note that simply read, "He never even wore it." And right then, for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sadness. I felt pity. Because she'd gambled everything and lost to a man who didn't even care enough to keep the prize. The day the divorce was finalized, I woke up before my alarm. There was no dramatic sunrise, no poetic thunderstorm, just a regular Tuesday. But everything felt different. Lighter. Like the air itself wasn't pressing down on my chest anymore. I didn't tell anyone about the court date. I didn't want witnesses, or pity, or celebratory drinks. I just walked in, signed my name, and walked out. The judge didn't even look surprised when Kaylee didn't show. Her lawyer came alone, expression stiff, eyes down. I didn't ask why. I already knew. She'd lost the story. For months, she had controlled the narrative. To her friends, she was confused and emotionally starved. To her family, she was trying to work it out. But in court, facts speak louder than feelings. Security footage, credit card records, voicemails, messages, the rose petals in the guest bathroom, the man who didn't even wear the gift she betrayed me to give. When I walked out of the courthouse, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. That chapter was shut, so tight it could suffocate. In the following weeks, my world changed. Not quickly, not in a movie-style montage, but in small, deliberate steps. I started sleeping better. My appetite returned. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years, the ones I always put off because Kaylee didn't like the energy they brought. Turns out, their energy was exactly what I needed. One afternoon, I was sitting outside a quiet cafe, sipping my coffee and sketching designs in my notebook, a hobby I'd forgotten I even enjoyed, when a woman at the next table leaned over and asked what I was drawing. She had kind eyes, a curious voice. We started talking. Her name was Lila. She was a graphic designer who had gone through her own messy breakup 2 years earlier. Nothing about her felt forced or performative. She didn't ask invasive questions or try to fix me. She just listened. We shared stories, laughed, sat in silence without needing to fill it. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel like a broken man waiting to be glued back together. I felt like myself. Whole. Scarred, sure. But solid. We've been seeing each other casually. No labels. No expectations. Just coffee. Walks. Long talks. A friendship forming in the softest way possible. And it's enough. For now, it's more than enough. As for Kaylee, I haven't heard from her in months. A mutual friend mentioned she moved back in with her parents and deactivated all her social media. Apparently, the guy she cheated with ghosted her completely. No closure. No goodbye. Just silence. The kind she never knew how to sit with. It's funny, really. She once accused me of being too quiet, said she felt like she was talking to a wall. But in the end, it was my silence that finally spoke the loudest. And I think that's how I'll remember it. Not as the story of how she broke me, but the story of how I rebuilt, quietly, piece by piece. And this time, I'm not leaving any doors unlocked.